All right. Gonna save the whole world. All right. Graybeard's coming in. Live on Instagram, live on Facebook. Now, live on Insight Timer. Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Let's wait a few minutes, see who's in the building. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody week is as fantastic as mine is. I feel really good. I feel real good. About to start in a few minutes. Just want to wait for everybody to pile in. Let's see here. If anybody's in here, YouTube, Instagram, Insight Timer, come in and say what's up. I'll get started at about the 7-minute mark. Hey, from Oregon, what's up? All right, let me move this out the way. Carrie, how you doing? I know it's summertime. I had to throw on my hoodie. It's freezing cold in my workspace. And I got gray hair right in my mustache. Yeah, Hero's Journey. Yeah, Hero's Journey. Interesting thing about it, I realized where am I? I'm in Maryland right now, and it's actually hot outside, but the air conditioner is kicking my butt right now. The air conditioner is crazy in here, so I had to throw my hoodie on. I was gonna wear my ceremonial robes, but I was like, no way. way. Okay, we're gonna wait a couple of minutes, see if anybody else goes by, wants to see what we're working on. I can't wait. I can't wait. I've been waiting to do this one for a while, and I was trying to figure out how to structure it and put it together. And when I'm done with this, I want to go back and watch it because I wanted to turn this into a class for teenagers. Jay, peace, family. What's going on? Not great pad thai. I gotta try some. I got an obsession with with ramen noodles now for some reason. Like I want to get like the best ramen noodles I can get my hands on. And I just bought like a new. I tried a new brand earlier, like tonight, like maybe like an hour ago. It wasn't bad, but this is one brand of ramen noodles I eat called the brand is Paldo. Yeah, it's called Paldo. I can't find that. I can't find that brand hardly anywhere. I can only find it at 7-Eleven. Jay, how you feeling tonight? And peace and blessings to everybody out there in live stream land. I'm going live in 3 places at once. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. I'm excited. I'm super excited. Super excited. I had a crack in my old phone. Just got a new phone. I can't wait to watch the video on a new phone. Just had some pretty good ramen noodles. Got on my favorite hoodie. I had this hoodie for like probably like 7 years now. It's the most comfortable, most sturdy hoodie ever crafted by human hands. Usually I'll get started at about the 7-minute mark, waiting to see who else comes in to join us. And then we'll hot ride on in. Can't wait to do this one. This will be fun. Are you guys reading any good books? I'm reading two of them slowly. I'm reading one called, I think it's called the Millionaire Mindset, and then there's another book, an old mysterious book called When Things Fall Apart by Pima Children. Okay, I always there's another book with that title, Things Fall Apart by Achiwa Achibe. Really good book. I'm reading a book called Lafafa Sadek. The Lafafa Sadek. It's a book from Ethiopia. It's a book from Ethiopia called Lafafa Sadek, which translates to the Bandlet of Righteousness. It's actually a book. It's kind of like what they call it's what they call a book of the dead in the West, unfortunately. What it is like a book of spells and incantations to protect the spirit or you wander through the afterlife. But it's interesting because it kind of like talks about Ethiopian Christianity in the early days of Ethiopian Christianity when they kind of blended in their ancient beliefs with their new beliefs of Christianity. It's really freaking interesting. It's really interesting when you talk about the power of names and they put Mary, the mother Mary, Mary, the mother of Jesus in it, but it talks about a whole bunch of other stuff mixed in there. It's interesting. It's called, well, the English translation is the Bandlet of Righteousness, and the original title is Lafafa Sedek. Sedek I know means righteousness and Ge'ez. Yeah, really good book. I just got it. I had it years ago, and I think it is kind of magical because years ago I was at the Harlem Book Fair, and I grabbed it when I was married, and I told my wife this book seems interesting to buy it. Then I got to the car, and I didn't have the book. I had bought a totally different book, a book about the history of cotton, and I don't know how it switched or what happened. I ended up with a book about the history of cotton, which wasn't a bad book actually. Interesting book, but still, I wanted the deck. I wanted the band of the righteousness. I wanted that magic. But anyway, we at the 7 minute mark, so let's get ready to rock and roll. So the hero quest archetype. The hero's quest archetype. The hero's quest archetype is known as the monomyth. They call it the monomyth because they say when you take all the mythology of the world, all the folklore, all the stories in the world, and boil them down to their true essence, that all of these stories are really just one story. Really just one story about somebody leaving from their safe, comfortable world, traveling into a strange place, going through a particular pattern and structure until eventually they return back home. Return back home transformed with the power to. You take all of the myths in the whole world and all the movies you've ever seen, they all follow the same basic structure. They all follow the same basic pattern. And that pattern is called the hero's quest archetype or the monomyth or the narrative archetype or whatever you want to call it. A lot of names for it, but it's all essentially the same thing. It's the same story that we've been telling since the beginning of storytelling, right? The hero goes out into the darkness and fights a dragon. The hero goes out into the darkness and has to fight a lion. The hero goes out into the darkness and has to overcome a wicked serpent. The hero goes, every single myth and story and theological tale we've ever been told is the same thing. Why? Because it's a story that applies in so many different situations in life. It applies when you go from one job to a new job. It applies when you or go out into the world and meet somebody and fall in love. It applies when you start a family. It applies when you start your own business. The same structure happens pretty much in everything that we do in life. And if we understand the structure of the hero quest archetype, we'll understand our own stories. But the most important thing I want you guys to understand is this. It's called the hero quest archetype because I want you guys to see yourselves as the hero. The hero has to journey and travel out into the world and battle dragons and evil serpents and wizards and demons. But you know what? We do the same thing. Don't get it misunderstood. We're on our own hero's quest, except that our hero's quest is a battle against alcoholism. It's a battle against loneliness or a battle against depression. It's a battle against anxiety. It's a battle against political injustice. We are all on our hero's quest archetype. Smitty Burns, peace. What's up, brother? So we are all our own heroes, and it's important that we recognize the fact that when we look at the structure of the hero quest archetype, we're looking at our own lives. And by seeing what the hero has to go through, how the hero can overcome, we understand ourselves on a deeper level and understand that we are struggling against the forces of darkness but we're struggling and we can overcome. In all of these stories, the hero overcomes. Luke Skywalker overcomes and he returns transformed. You know, Indiana Jones overcomes and he returns transformed. Neo from the Matrix, he returns, overcome, and he overcomes and he returns transformed. Harry Potter, all of the stories that we love so much, they all follow in Hero Quest archetype. And I want you to come to love your own life story because trust me, you can and you will overcome. Let's start off with the structure of the Hero Quest archetype. It has 12 stages to it, right? The first stage is the ordinary world. Second stage, call to adventure. Third stage, the reluctant hero. The fourth stage, the wise old person, which is optional. Sometimes you'll see it in a Hero Quest archetype story. Sometimes you won't see it. Then you see the fifth stage, the special world, or crossing the threshold. Sixth stage, tests, allies, enemies. Seventh stage, innermost cave. Eighth stage, supreme ordeal. Ninth stage, seizing the sword. 10th stage, the road back. 11th stage, resurrection. And the 12th stage, return with elixir. Now, if you look at all of the stories that I've mentioned, all the films that I've mentioned, they all follow the Hero Quest archetype. But they're also following and patterning themselves after human existence. Humans are the hero. You are the hero. So whenever you read anything in any scripture, it's autobiographical. That makes it more powerful, makes it more real, but it's true. It's about you. People don't read the Bible because it's about somebody else. They read it because they connect with it and identify with it. Same thing with the Quran. Same thing with the book I just mentioned, the Fafa Sadek. It is the story of all of us. So we must see ourselves as the hero in our own stories so that we can look within ourselves and find the power to overcome, just like the heroes in these stories. Now, the first stage, the ordinary world, what I refer to as the comfort zone. We all begin our stories in our comfort zone. Now, that might seem strange for some of us because some of us are very uncomfortable with where we are, right? Even me, when I was going through severe depression, I was comfortable with the depression. I woke up with a depression. The depression became like an old buddy. Like, hey, what's going on, depression? Hey, what's going on, suicidal ideation? When I didn't feel those things, I felt weird. I felt like, well, where's my depression at? And then I would have to think of something to make myself depressed again because my depression was like my buddy. My depression was my comfort zone. The anxiety was my comfort zone. You know, I felt ill at ease when I was in a position where things were okay. So I had to construct these bizarre fantasies where I was in the midst of disaster in order for me to feel safe and comfortable, right? So if you suffer from anxiety, you need your anxiety. If you suffer, heartbreak, after a while, the heartbreak becomes so familiar, you don't want it to go away. You miss the pain. You miss the pain. You're in love with the pain. I wrote that in a song lyric years ago. The hurt was so lovely, fell in love with the pain. And that's what happens to all of us. Even in our darkest hour, we get comfortable. And that's where the story always begins. It begins with where you're comfortable. So ask yourselves, have you ever been comfortable with something that you shouldn't have been comfortable with? Have you ever been comfortable with depression? Have you ever been comfortable with anxiety? You ever been comfortable with rock bottom? I know people who get comfortable with rock bottom. They feel like they have nothing to lose and they're comfortable there. They feel like they've lost everything, lost their families, lost their jobs, lost their self-respect, lost their dignity. And you know what? They like it that way. They like it that way. I've been there. And I know a lot of other people who have been there as well. So that's where the story begins in the ordinary world. Unfortunately, for many of us, dysfunction is ordinary. Sadness is ordinary. And when someone tries to say, you have a chance to change, we don't. We hesitate. We're reluctant. Why? We're reluctant because sometimes I'd rather be depressed than disappointed. Disappointment can sometimes be worse than depression. When you're struggling with depression and somebody says you can overcome, and you try to overcome, and then something goes wrong and you go right back into depression, you feel like, man, I'd rather just stay depressed. You're suffering from anxiety, and somebody says, hey, you can, take this pill and it'll help with your anxiety, and then you still feel a little anxious. And you're like, well, I should have just stayed anxious. I shouldn't have tried to change things. I shouldn't have tried to make things better because now the disappointment, it makes the pain even more intense. Right? So the next phase, the call to adventure. Now, for all of us, the call to adventure could be something different. For some people, the call to adventure could be a friend of yours saying, "Hey, I'm concerned about you. Just come with me. Let's take a vacation, take our mind off everything, and I'll help you relax." Somebody might say, "Hey, you know what? I think you might need some therapy." Somebody might say, "Hey, you know what? Let's go to AA." You might find somebody, if you're struggling with drinking, you might find somebody else who's struggling with drinking. And you say, "Hey, let's go to AA together." There's a call to adventure. There's a call to something new. Something is luring you to a new life, a new way of seeing a universe, a new way of living, right? For me, the call to adventure was, how old was I? I think I was 24. I was 24. It was 3 years after my father had died. I wasn't in the deepest, darkest depths of my depression, but I was definitely depressed. And I used to work at Hartford Hospital. I used to work at night. And I came across a book. They saw people would always donate books to the hospital. And I happened to find a book called The Religions of Man by Houston Smith. And it was basically a book that talked about the world's major religions. It talked about Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism. And reading that book, I learned about meditation and what the power of meditation can accomplish. Now, I was 24 at that time. I made a couple of attempts to meditate. Nothing stuck. It was hard for me to sit still. And I remember one day in particular, I was trying my best to meditate, and there was a fly flying around. And it just kept buzzing and landing on me and buzzing. It wouldn't leave me the hell alone. So I just said, you know what, this meditation thing, I'll come back to it some other time. I'll come back to meditation some other time. But for right now, it is not doing me no goddamn good. I'd rather just drink cheap brandy or cheap vodka. That seems to do the trick. Of course, it didn't do the trick and things got worse. You know, the longer you postpone sitting with your depression and sitting with your emotions, the more powerful it becomes over time. It's like a monster in the basement. You watch a horror movie, they got a monster in the basement. The monster just lives in the basement, and 10 years later, he comes out of the basement for revenge, and he's unstoppable. You know, like that movie Red Dragon with Ed Norton. He was a little kid, and his grandmother used to psychologically torture him and beat him, and he grew up and became a monster. Well, same thing with your depression, your anxiety, or whatever it is you're struggling with. You postpone it, sitting with it, it becomes unstoppable. It becomes more powerful the more it's ignored, and eventually you won't be able to ignore it any longer. So that leads me to the next stage, the reluctant hero. Now, whenever there is a call for adventure, there's also a call to run back to your comfort zone. Ty, what's going on, my brother? Whenever there's a call for adventure, there's a call to run back to the comfort zone because that call to the unknown, the mysterious is so frightening sometimes we can't handle it. However, that call back to where you're comfortable, where you don't have to change, where you don't have to make a stand, where you don't have to confront your inner demons, that seems kind of sweet. When you compare the unknown and what could go wrong with what you know, sometimes you want to choose what you know. Because what you know, no matter how miserable it is, no matter how unhappy it is, what you know is safer than what could be out there for a lot of people. Be grateful for the breath of life. Yes, indeed. Be very grateful. Be very grateful. Be great, very grateful for the breath of life and for the happiness that you could potentially feel. But the potential to feel happiness is not alluring enough because you got that comfort zone. I could be happy, but I'm okay over here. I'm not dead over here. I haven't lost everything over here. Even though I'm miserable, I don't want to risk a little bit of misery or a lot of misery for something that could be 10 times worse. I don't want to go out there with the potential to be happy. Whereas when I was depressed, I felt like I'll risk everything just for the potential. But for some people, they're like, it might not work out. I'm not gonna risk me being comfortable in my small apartment, eating, frozen pizza and drinking beer. I'm not gonna risk that. I've established that. I'm not gonna risk that for the potential that there could maybe be something out there. So that call for adventure has to battle with that call to stay in your comfort zone because the unknown holds monsters. And you think the monsters of the unknown are more terrifying than the monsters you already know. So quite often what happens is we remain in our comfort zone. But now we're on stage 4. Stage 4, the the point where you cross the threshold, when you escape out of your comfort zone. And one thing I've learned, there's a saying that I heard that said, if you take one step toward God, God will take two steps towards you. That's what I've experienced. I've experienced that we as human beings, we once we start thinking about crossing the line out of our comfort zone, something's going to happen to push you out of it. You're going to say to yourself, nah, I'll just stay in my apartment. I don't want to risk leaving this comfortable, safe zone. And then somebody calls you and says, you know what, we're gonna evacuate the building because something's wrong with the building. So all of our tenants got to move out. You say to yourself, no, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone here at college. And, I'll just stay at college for like another extra year, just goof around with my friends. I'm not ready for the real world. And somebody says, you know what? Your tuition has been cut. They're raising tuition. You don't have enough money. You got to go. Something's going to happen to push you out into the real world. And then you find yourself in a position where if you try to stay where you are, and a lot of people will try to stay where they are, then the universe is gonna make things very hard for you and your life is going to collapse. That refusal to move forward can make it so that your life will actually fall apart. The universe will move you. As soon as you think a thought about maybe moving, that one thought of transforming yourself is so powerful, the universe is going to be attracted to it and it's going to move you. And either you're going to move or you're going to stay still, but it's safer to move. It's safer to run outside of your comfort zone. Imagine you're watching a movie and there's a scene where on one side, there's a bridge, right? Imagine a bridge. On one side of the bridge, you got the main character has his village. He lives in this nice, safe, comfortable little village. And then there's a bridge. He has to cross the bridge and go to the other side, to the outside world, right? He goes halfway across the bridge and then he says, nah, I'm going back. But when he turns around to go back, the bridge starts to collapse. And the only way he can survive is by running fast as he possibly can to the other side. That's what's going to happen to you in your life when you think about it's time for me to change. I'm tired of being depressed, tired of being anxious, tired of being nervous, tired of being broke, tired of feeling sorry for myself. Just that one thought alone, everything in the whole universe is going to start careening towards you at the speed of light, at the speed of thought, at the speed of God. And it's going to force you to move whether you want to move or not. Now, it makes sense. You're mapping your story to my story to yours. It does make sense. We all fit this story archetype. It's the mono myth. It works for every hero, works for every story because it works for every person. Now, for me, what made it so that I had to come out of my comfort zone, for me, it was panic attacks. When I turned 30, I don't know what it was, but I started having very severe panic attacks. So severe that I would end up in the hospital because I thought I was going to die. And I've mentioned this before. For anybody who used to watch me do the live streams, like, earlier in the year, I've mentioned before how I had horrible panic attacks where I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die. And there was a real famous show out back then called House, for anybody who remembers that. And that show House was about a doctor who would get these baffling cases that other doctors wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know how to solve these cases and heal these people. So House would get brought in. And when House got brought in, he would figure out all this crazy, mysterious stuff that nobody else ever thought about. I thought I was a case like that. I thought the doctors would look at me and find there was something inside me that was wrong with me or something wrong with my blood. And they'd be like, oh my God, we never seen this, like anything like this before. I thought that I was, a goner. And I thought that I was like a mystery case because I would go to the hospital and nobody knew what was going on. I remember one time I stayed in the hospital all night. They did so many tests on me and checked for blood clots and they checked for, problems with my lungs and couldn't find anything. And they just sent me home. We can't think of what it is. We can't find anything. We'll see you later. Bye. Get out. So I started having panic attacks that was so severe. And I remembered the line from the movie A Beautiful Mind, where they asked him why he stopped taking his medication for his schizophrenia. And he said, the problem is in my mind, so I have to use my mind to solve it. And that's how I felt. I felt, listen, my anxiety, what's happening to me is all in my mind. I have to use my mind to solve the problem. And that's when I returned to meditation. I returned to meditation because I had to get out of my comfort zone and try something that was difficult. And I sat down and began meditating, and I've meditated ever since. And I was able to beat depression, able to beat my panic attacks and anxiety. I've never had another panic attack. I've been in some sticky situations. I've been in crazy situations. Never panicked. Overcame it. Right. Stage 5, special world, is when you cross over. You cross the threshold and you find yourself in this new place, find yourself in this new environment. And it's scary, but it's beautiful at the same time. And I remember, when I decided to get my mind right, there were new rules and there were new people. And there was new potential for mistakes and new potential for danger. But there was also the new potential for happiness. Sharon, I'm very happy I found meditation. I'm so happy I found meditation. It's such a beautiful part of my life. But yeah, when you go into the new world, there's going to be new potential for danger, but there's going to be new potential to find beautiful experiences. And you have to basically balance um, the old way you used to be with the new way you used to be and trying to figure out how to adapt to this new environment. Like, imagine if you're a person who drinks all the time. If you're a person who drinks all the time, when you cross over into the new world of sobriety, you got to learn the rules. You got to learn new ways to have fun. You got to learn new ways to communicate to people. You have to find new ways to live in the world that you're in, because it's a whole new world for you. And that can be tricky. If you've been depressed your entire life and all your friendships are based upon depression and mental health issues and being an outsider and not fitting in and not feeling at peace and not feeling love, then imagine you go to a new environment where everybody's stable. I had to go through that. I used to like walk around just cracking jokes about suicide. And then I got my mind right and realized how bizarre that must have been to other people to have me crack jokes about, yeah, when I turn 30, I'm going to kill myself. That it had to be mind blowing. It had to be baffling, but I had to adapt and learn a new way to be in this new world of happiness and stability and functionality as opposed to dysfunctionality. It was amazing. It was very hard. Now, when you go into this new world, you hit stage 6, tests, allies, and enemies. And as I mentioned, this new world has new dangers, it has new threats, it has things that can go wrong, but it has things that can go very right. As I mentioned, I started meditating. And the interesting thing about it is, I remember very vividly um, me going to a place in my hometown, Hartford, Connecticut, called the Hartford Mindfulness Center. And I walked past this building so many times. So, hey, Angela, how you doing? I walked past this building so many times, never went in there. Then one day I decided I wanted to, deepen my understanding of meditation and be around other meditative people. And it was beautiful. And that's where I met my meditation teacher, a woman named Malu, and she ended up certifying me so I could teach mindfulness. And then I went to another place. I remember it was a place called Copper Beach, which is in West Hartford, not too far from where I was born. Amazing place. There was an amazing teacher there by the name of Miranda. It was so much love and openness, and like everybody had a connection with each other. It was amazing. And I remember, going to the Harlem Book Fair, and I remember learning plant medicine from a person who I grew up with, and he ended up studying African spirituality in a form of called Yoruba or Ife or Ifa. And he learned about how to use plants to heal. And I remember, instead of me taking medication, and I haven't taken medication in years. It was all because he taught me a little bit about plants. If I felt a cold coming, I would, hey, how can I get rid of this cold? If I felt the fever, how can I get rid of this fever? And I've been taking plant medicine for the most part ever since. I take, some medicine every now and again. There's one time, right before COVID hit, I got super, super sick, and I had to take some antibiotics or something like that. But other than that, I don't really need medicine. I'm pretty healthy, pretty fit for the most part. And years ago, I used to get sick. I used to work at a school full of young kids, so I got everything, every cold, every sneeze, every flu. I would be so sick throughout the course of the school year. But learning plant medicine from him, I overcame a lot of that. And it's a struggle in a new place. It's a struggle because you have to struggle with your new identity. Who are you? Now that you no longer have now that you're no longer in the old world. In the old world, you may have been the head honcho. You may have been the most powerful, the most intelligent, the most graceful, the most beautiful, the most adored. Now you're in a new world and you don't have that. You can't take that status with you. Now, who are you? That was a struggle as well. Without depression, who was I? And for a person who drinks a lot, without alcohol, who are you? You get high all the time. Okay, let's take away the weed. Let's take away the pills. Let's take away the cocaine. Take away the heroin. Now, who are you? You're in a whole new world, with a whole new set of rules. Who are you? Which brings us to stage 7. Stage 7 is the innermost cave. In the innermost cave, therein lies what you desire the most. That's where it's hidden. That could be love, could be self-knowledge, it could be success, could be inner peace. It could be reconciling a relationship that you lost. It could be confronting someone who hurt you in order to heal. For some people, the innermost cave could be therapy. But here, in the realm of the innermost cave, that is the new threshold. Remember, this story is all about thresholds and transitions. You know, there's a book called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I hate the fact that in the West they call these books of the dead. Well, really, none of these books are about death. They're all about life and the afterlife. And there's a book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but the real title of it is the Bardo Todo, because they believe that life is a series of bardos, which is transitions. So the Bardo Todo is the book of transitions. You're not dying, you're just transitioning. And that's what life is about too. The patterns of death are the same as the patterns of life. You transition from one stage to another stage. So we're talking about transitioning and going from one area, passing a threshold, going from your comfort zone, passing a threshold, then you go to the innermost cave and pass another threshold. And inside the innermost cave, what is it? What's there? Yes, it's everything you ever wanted. Love, joy, peace, happiness, wealth, success. It's all there. Everything you ever wanted is there. But also your greatest ordeal. The supreme ordeal, and that's stage 8. Not just an ordeal, the supreme ordeal. And not just the supreme ordeal, but an ordeal directly for you. Directly for you. It's tailor-made for you to suffer. It's all of your nightmares. Everything you've been afraid of, everything that made you nervous, everything that made you anxious, there it is. If you're a person who grew up afraid of your mother, then you might have to confront your mother. Greatest ordeal. If you're a person who were afraid of rejection, you might have to get rejected. You were a person who were afraid of trying new things. Well, guess what? In order for you to get what you truly want, you got to try some new things. You were afraid of being vulnerable. Well, guess what? You're going to have to face your vulnerability. You were afraid of being sober and how it would feel not having alcohol. Well, guess where you're going, buddy? You're afraid of being loved. I was afraid of being loved at one point. I didn't understand it. I didn't trust it. It felt strange to be loved. I was more familiar with rejection. Guess what I had to learn how to handle? How to be loved. How not to feel like no one will ever love me. That was one of my biggest ordeals. But your biggest ordeals, your supreme ordeal is going to be something that you specifically need to overcome to make you more powerful. And it's going to be something specifically for you. And then what happens after you face your supreme ordeal? You seize the sword. What does seizing the sword mean? Well, seizing the sword means you find your power. There at that moment, you go through the supreme ordeal and you face the rejection you were terrified of experiencing, and then you realize it don't hurt nowhere near as bad as you thought. You sober up and you realize it ain't nowhere near as gruesome as you thought. You decide to go to therapy, you realize it ain't nowhere near as terrifying as you thought. And then you look within yourself and you seize your power. You didn't go through all of this not to change. Your pain and your suffering and you overcoming obstacles, that's the currency you pay so you can become more powerful. You didn't go through all of this to stay the same. Don't ever get it misconstrued and think that you went through all of this suffering and all this pain, hoping that you can go back to your comfort zone when you're done. You did not. Don't fool yourself. You went through all of this so that you could become more powerful. That's why you went through it. Regardless of what you think the goal is to find my true love. No, the goal is for you to become more powerful. If seeking your true love was the impetus you needed to find your inner power, then so be it. If finding God is the impetus you needed so you can find your own power, then so be it. Whatever you want to call it. You're doing this so you can become more powerful and grab the sword, grasp the sword. You overcame all of this not for a small minor reward or someone else's affection. You went through all of this so you could become more powerful within yourself. These experiences are transformative, and that's why you have to suffer. You have to perform a sadhana. In Indian meditation, they say a sadhana. Sadhana is what you have to do, what you have to endure, so you can tap into your power through meditation. When you see individuals walking across fire while they meditate, that's their sadhana. When you see individuals locking themselves in boxes and staying in a box for 3-4 weeks without food or water while they meditate, that's a sadhana. You see individuals sitting beneath the waterfall, the cold water splashing on their head, coming down on them while they sitting on top of a rock. That's the sadhana. Carry, exactly. You're doing all of this so you can become more powerful within you. And you'll find healing and power and love in you. You think you're looking for external love, you're looking for internal love. You think you're looking for God outside, you're looking for God inside. You think you're looking to heal somebody else, you're really just healing yourself. It's that transformative experience that we all desire because you got sick and tired of the comfort zone. You got tired of it. But anywhere can be your comfort zone, as we've already discussed. Your depression can be your comfort zone. Hell can be your comfort zone. If you believe in the devil's in hell. He's comfortable there. Like it says in that book, Paradise Lost, it's better to rule in hell than be a slave in heaven. So imagine that mindset where somebody decides, I'd rather be in hell. And that's what a lot of people decide. I'd rather be in hell. But you got sick of it. Thank God. You got sick of the comfort zone. Thank God. And on your journey, you found power within yourself to avoid the trap of creating another comfort zone. Because you created the first one. Now it's time to break out of it and make sure you don't go back to another one. And the only way that can happen is if you transform. Seize the sword. Now we are on stage 10. The road back. Why is the road back so important? Why is the road back so important? Why is that even a part of the story? You could end the story right there. You overcame the monster. You faced your worst fear. You faced the supreme ordeal. You seized the sword. You can just roll the credits. Roll the credits. Movie's over. We're done. We're finished. Nah. Story continues. There's a road back. Why is the road back important? The road back is important because you have to see if you really transformed. And you said you transformed and you found God in you. Okay, life is going to test you. Let's figure this out. I want to see if you really got God in you. Boom. And then you're going to, as you go back, you're going to realize you've truly been transformed when the things you used to love don't hold your interest anymore. The things that used to trigger you don't trigger you anymore. The pain is gone. You know, for individual who is addicted to alcohol. I spoke to individuals who were alcoholics and overcame alcoholism, and they say they don't want to drink anymore. Alcohol has no interest for them anymore. There's nothing to them anymore. You know, same thing with when people stop drinking, they get new friends. What happens when they get their new friends? The old friends ain't funny no more. They're not cool anymore. Sitting around with my old friends watching these guys drink. I've spoken to alcoholics and drug addicts who said, man, I don't want to be around them people no more. Seeing the way they live now, I feel sorry for them. That's the road back. To make sure you truly changed. Dana, you stop? Glad to hear it. Salute to you, Dana. And then your old friends seem like strangers. The things you were afraid of seem petty now, childish and weak because you've changed, you've become so powerful. The triggers you used to have where somebody would say something or do something and you would flip out, it don't mean anything anymore. You can let them go now. They no longer have power over you. That's why the road back is so important. The road back is so important because you got to make sure you truly changed. And I'm not saying put yourself in these situations, but I'm saying you have to know for sure that a transformation has occurred. Yeah, Dana, yeah, that's how it is. You know, they're not living their true life, their best life. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. That's how it is. When you change and you grow and individuals you used to be around don't change and grow, it can be sad. That's okay. You can say idiots. It's all right. They just have their own struggles, though. They have their own struggles. Hopefully they change in time. But that's the reason why the road back is so important. Stage 11, resurrection. What does that mean? What does it mean, resurrection? Resurrection means new life. You know, it's the scripture in the Bible that says that oh man, I wish I had the quote where it says that when you rise into heaven, you'll be given a new body and a new mind and made in the image of God. Something like that. That's what resurrection is. It's a new life. It's a new perspective, new mind, rejuvenation, new appreciation, a new identity. You know, in the Bible it says that after you die, you're resurrected. You won't be your old self anymore. You'll be as the angels in heaven. What they mean by resurrection in the Hero Quest archetype. You've totally changed. The old you is dead. You're still you. You're still you, but the old you is dead. The old you is dead. Now you've been resurrected and brought back, but as something else. As a person who needed healing, you've died metaphorically and been brought back to life as what? As a healer. And that brings me to the last stage of the Hero Quest archetype, the return with elixir. Now, what do they mean by return with elixir? Well, you went on the journey because there was something wrong with the original world. Maybe someone was ill. Maybe you were ill. Maybe people around you were ill. So when you come back now with the elixir, meaning you're coming back with something that can heal other individuals around you. And that's the same thing with anybody else who's going through their own personal Hero Quest archetype. We come back as healers. I'm here tonight speaking to you guys because I went through my dark hour of the soul and came out of it, resurrected, new, brought to life. How do I maintain this positivity and this energy? Simple. By bringing the same positivity and energy to other people. I've worked in the same field, working with kids, trying to steer them in the right direction and give them positivity and give them love and compassion. I did that for like a decade. But that me getting those kinds of jobs really started when I was 30 and I decided to start meditating and get my mind right and escape depression and anxiety. I escaped depression and anxiety and came back with the elixir of meditation to heal other individuals around me. Because I went through the greatest ordeal. I went through my supreme fears. All the things that I was afraid of, I eventually had to face. And I'm pretty sure there's still more things inside me that must be confronted. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. I radiate positivity. Thank you. But you become a healer. And that's a part of your hero's quest journey as well. A lot of times, a lot of us are saying to ourselves, how do I overcome this? Well, human beings are social creatures. If you're going through depression and anxiety, trying to help others overcome depression and anxiety helps you. The guy who I forgot his name, but the guy who created the AA program, he figured that out. He was trying to stop drinking, and nothing that he did, nothing the doctors said, none of that stuff helped him. What did he do? He figured out, well, you know what? If I talk to other people who drink and have the same issue, that helps me not to drink. So in seeking his own healing, he started helping to heal other people. We do the same thing. Yeah, you're made to be a healer. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dana. Now, what I'm trying to get at is the fact that I want you all to see yourselves as heroes on the quest and the journey. Empower yourself by thinking of yourself as a hero. When you're battling depression, you're battling a demon. Depression has taken so many lives. You are fighting a demon when you fight depression. When you fight anxiety and panic attacks, you are fighting a demon. I've been through a panic attack. I've been hospitalized for panic attacks. Trust me when I tell you that's a demon. And I'm not even a person who believe in no literal spook devil. But if there is one, it's a panic attack. Having faced that, it requires a tremendous amount of heroism within you. If you're an individual who suffers from social anxiety and you go to a room full of people and walk around and shake hands and talk, people might not think that's an achievement. That's an achievement for you to face your own inner demon and go out into a world and expose yourself to things that you're afraid of, whether it be a crowd or whether it be a roaring lion. For some people, just a crowd is enough. You are a hero. Joe says I'm not much of a hero to my friends and family because I've had it with their ignorance and racism. Been crying a lot because I have to move away from them. Yeah, yeah. And you're beginning your journey now. And who knows, the day might come when you might go back to them and heal them of their racism and ignorance. Ignorance is a condition. Can be healed if people want to be healed. But it's like a lot of it's like diabetes. A lot of people have diabetes. A lot of people have diabetes, but the doctor says eat this and don't eat that, and nobody listens. So maybe they don't want to be healed of their ignorance. And it's really it's your place to try to help and heal, but they got to heal themselves. They got to go through their own hero quest journey. That's one thing I had to learn the tough way because I used to put so much energy in trying to quote unquote save the kids I work with. It's a two. How you doing? Yeah, I used to try to save the kids that I worked with. So because I tried so hard to save these kids, and I had to stop and realize can't save anybody. They have to save themselves. All you can do is, show them the light, be the light, be the light and show them that they're living in darkness. Oh, that's cool, Gary. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm trying. I got diabetes too. I'm trying my best to eat right and lose some weight. I'll go on plant based. I've been having fun going plant based. I've been eating a bunch of kale. I found a whole bunch of Beyond what is it, Beyond Meat products. I've been enjoying this vegan thing. I feel much healthier. I feel more alive, more energetic. I feel my body is thanking me. I wish my stomach would thank me and get a little bit smaller. I found a real nice shirt today. It was a 2X, but it fit really good except around my gut. I was so mad. I was like, man, I gotta start working out even harder. I gotta lose some weight because the shirt looks so nice. I was about to buy it anyway. I was gonna buy it anyway and force myself to lose weight so I could wear it. Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dana. All right, Rain. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. Well, does anybody have any questions? Anything y'all want to discuss before I wrap up for the evening? And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this one. Okay, I'm not seeing the questions pop up. All right, ladies and gents, I'm glad y'all joined me tonight. Do I remember my first time meditating? Believe it or not, I do. My first time meditating at 30, because before 30, I was probably maybe 9 or 11. And I remember I was reading these series of books by my favorite writer at the time. It was a guy named Lloyd Alexander, and he wrote this series of books about these characters who went on these adventures. And in one of the books, there was a guy who was meditating, which I had no idea what it was, but the character was meditating, and they described what he was doing to an extent. And then I said, "Let me try it." So I did it, and I just blacked out. Like the first few times I did it, it worked almost too well. I would just blank out and go into such a calm state of mind. I would be unaware of what was going on around me. Jay, you're welcome. And then I would snap out of it like an hour or two later. But I had to stop meditating as a kid because I would be at school doing schoolwork and just black out and then wake up like an hour later. I remember one time I was taking a test and it was like, okay, this test is very important. Whether or not you could pass to the next grade depends upon this test. Hope you all do well. And I did like the first 10 answers and then blacked out. And then came out of it like an hour later. And the teacher was like, you got 10 minutes left. So I said, I got to stop meditating. So as I got older, I would continue. I'm glad I rediscovered it and started meditating. But now I'm more older. I can control it a little bit better, which is cool. Um, yeah. And then at the age of 30, when I started meditating because of the panic attacks, um, I knew that meditating would be very, very difficult. It would be hard to sit still. So I remember I took out my timer. I put 5 minutes, and then I said an affirmation, which for some odd reason, just saying the words out loud gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to physically do. So I just kept saying, I am in the present moment for 5 minutes, and it worked. Do I work with crystals? I don't know much about crystals. Crystals and spell work, I don't know a whole lot about. I have a ton of friends who do. The Wellness Initiative is the business that I started teaching people how to meditate. Um, yeah, the release of my book got pushed back. I had to make some changes. Paula, thank you for the donations. I had to make some changes, but it's definitely going to be out soon. When it comes out, just keep an eye on my profile, and I'll put the website. I'll put the website address. You can go there and purchase the book. Join the diabetes group at 8 o'clock. I'll see if I can fit it in on Mondays. I know I usually got my my kids beating me up around that time. So we'll see. Do people go through multiple hero? Well, the hero's journey is one of those things that, yeah, your life pretty much is a hero's journey. It's just that you complete different tasks and go to different levels of it. Like I said earlier, the Bardo Toto. The Bardo was a transition. You keep transitioning. You keep transitioning and evolving. It never stops. That's why it works so well. The structure works so well because you never stop. Never stop going through the hero's journey. The journey might get easier as you mature and learn your way around this matrix. You know, for some individuals, being in a relationship is a hero's journey. But I guess what happens as you get older, you get a little bit more confidence, a little more game, a little bit more experience. The whole love thing and the marriage thing gets a little bit easier. So for some people, starting a new job is a hero's journey. For some people, working on a new project. And as you get better and better, you ascend to new levels and restart the journey over again. Great question, Carrie. Absolutely, we go through heroes quest journeys, more than one during our lives. Well, everybody, it is now midnight. I'm going to say peace and blessings to all of you. Peace and blessings to everybody who's watching on YouTube, everybody who's watching on Instagram. Peace and blessings to everybody. Thank you for joining me. Y'all have a good night.